Hello again. So let's begin this first session about Ernest Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea. I will make a kind of textual analysis of the first 10 pages, just to make you get closer to the story and understand what it is about and what is involved in it. The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. This is the cover of the book. So some modest houses on the coast of Cuba, Havana, Cuba, and boats on the sea. This novel is about an unlucky old man. So this is the character, this is the main character, this is the protagonist of the story. It's the story of an unlucky old man. So it's a man with two things. He is old and he is unlucky. This is the initial situation. He was an old man who fished alone in a skiff in the Gulf Stream, and he had gone 84 days now without taking a fish. In the first 40 days, a boy had been with him, but after 40 days without a fish, the boy's parents had told him that the old man was now definitely and finally sallow, which is the worst form of unlucky, and the boy had gone at their orders in another boat, which caught 3 good fish the first week. So it's an old man in a difficult situation. Imagine someone who was a fisherman for a living and who for 80 days without fish, for more than 80 days without fish, without getting any results. There is a lot for which to be sad, to be angry. I think this is a good beginning of the story. We are wondering, will he remain unlucky throughout, or will his bad luck come to an end somewhere? There is a mystery from the start. There is an enigma from the start. It's about bad luck. First of all, does luck exist? Does it not exist? That's another story. But anyway, we take it for granted. This man is unlucky. It's a fact. Towards the end of that same paragraph, there is a reference to the sail of his skiff, or his little boat, in the following terms. The sail was patched with flour sacks and furled. It looked like the flag of permanent defeat. This is a simile. There is an analogy between the sail, which is not new, which is old, which is as old as its owner. It is patched, it's in a bad state, patched with flour sacks, and now it is furled, and it looks like the flag of permanent defeat. It looked like, not it was, but it appeared like the flag of permanent defeat, which means permanent bad luck. So this is symbolic. The sail is symbolic of bad luck, symbolic of defeat. So the whole story will be about defeat and victory. Will there be a turning point, or will it end like this, tragically like this? In these early pages of the novel, we have a description of the main character so that we can get a vivid image of him. The old man was thin and gaunt, with deep wrinkles in the back of his neck. The brown blotches of the benevolent skin cancer the sun brings from its reflection on the tropic sea were on his cheeks. The blotches ran well down the sides of his face, and his hands had the deep creased scars from handling heavy fish on the cords. But none of these scars were fresh. They were as old as erosions in a fishless desert. Wow. So at the beginning of this paragraph, we have a description of the main character of the story. The old man was thin and gaunt. Probably he didn't eat a lot, or probably he worked very hard. This is why he is an old, thin and gaunt man. Gaunt meaning his face was not full. With deep wrinkles in the back of his neck. These are traces of old age about him, but he's still alive. It's as though he were clinging to life. He's the type of man who would not give up. He is seasoned. He is accustomed to this kind of situation. The brown blotches of the benevolent skin cancer and the sun brings from its reflection on the tropic sea or on his cheeks, meaning he had all the effects of the weather on him, the sun of the summer, the effect of nature, and also the effect of hard work. He's a laborer. He is a hand laborer. He works with his hands. He lives with his hands. He is not a parasite. He's a self-reliant person. And his hands had the deep creased scars from handling heavy fish on the cord. So he's a fighter. He used to fight fish, big fish, on his boat, and pull in the cords or the lines. So he's in the habit. He's a veteran. He's a veteran in this job. But none of these scars were fresh. So which means that before the 80 days of bad luck, he had some luck before, but now it seems that luck has run out. So nature has its effects on Santiago, that is his name, but he has other rivals and other enemies in the story. Everything about him was old except his eyes, and they were the same color as the sea, and were cheerful and undefeated. Yes, in the classic terms, the hero, or in the epic poems or narratives, the hero is, or the tragic hero, is good in every respect except one flaw. but in here it's the reverse. Everything about Santiago was old except his eyes. One thing positive and many, many things negative, except his eyes. The eyes, they say, are the windows of the soul, and they were the same color as the sea. They were blue, they were clear, they were natural. So if time has defeated Santiago in many respects, there are still things that have not been destroyed by this time. It is his eyes. They are his eyes. His eyes are not have not been affected by aging, which is extraordinary. Which means that man is subject to nature, to the effects of time, but some aspects of man survive. Some aspects of man endure. They endure. So it's a book about endurance. In any case, time is one of the enemies. There are many enemies, the many rivals that Santiago will have to face. He's a man who is going to fight many enemies. Isn't that heroic? Especially a man in his circumstances. Yet Santiago has something youthful about him. The defied time. His eyes are what defies time. Yes, he's an old man with some youth in him. He's an old man with some spark of youth in him. It's like fire under the ashes. Yes, this is paradoxical, but it is, which means man, as so long as man is alive, there is hope. There is something that should be relied on. He shares the color of his eyes with that of the sea, which means he's part of nature. He's fighting against elements of nature, but he's also part of nature. He's in harmony with nature. Santiago is in harmony with nature. Now there is a boy called Manolo who helps him. He used to be his assistant, but he has left him since his parents told him that Santiago has become Salau, 100% unlucky, plagued with bad luck. But Manolo is still faithful to Santiago. He comes to help him occasionally in every respect, and he's doing that on his own initiative. We notice that here Santiago is an old man and Manolo is a young boy. How come that these two come together? So there is a generation. There should be a generation gap between them. There's nothing. They have nothing in common, and yet they are friends. They are even some sort of partners. The boy calls him by his first name, Santiago. The boy said to him as they climbed the bank from where the skiff was hauled up. I could go with you again. We've made some money. So he's calling him by his name. They are partners. He doesn't call him Mr. or Sir or whatever. He calls him like a friend, like a pal. And moreover, he says, we have made some money, and using the first person plural pronoun. So there is a partnership between the two, between master and disciple. The boy Manolo looks at Santiago as his master. One of the themes raised in these early pages is that the old man had taught the boy to fish, and the boy loved him for that. So he had taught him, meaning we have here the relationship of master and disciple between the two. Manolo has learned certain things from the old man, and he has still more to learn, not only on the level of fishing, but on how to look at life, and so do we. Ernest Hemingway is using what critics call the role model. The role model. Santiago is a role model. We are reading the story and we are seeing him. How does he behave and what attitudes does he take? And we are expected to imitate him in a sense. So we are like Manolo, sharing in the experience of Santiago. He had taught him how to fish, and we should notice here that fishing is not meant to be just a banal activity, but a way of life. Fishing is a way of life. Fishing is getting one's own livelihood from the sea. It's working hard to survive. So it's not a banal occupation, but a life skill. Fishing is a life skill. It's not an ordinary job. It's more than a job. Fishing here is more than a job. It is a lifestyle and a life skill. And the young boy, Manolo, should be grateful to Santiago for teaching him that. The old man had taught the boy to fish, and the boy loved him. No, the old man said, you are with a lucky boat, stay with them. So, Santiago here is a noble character. He doesn't want to exploit Manolo he's not selfish. One of the characteristics of Santiago here is that he is unselfish. He's self-reliant. He accepts help if help is offered, but he wouldn't go to the extent of taking something to himself, something that belongs to others, taking it to himself unlawfully or in a selfish manner. Another feature of Santiago's character is that he's modest. He admits his current weakness and current difficulty, and he doesn't want to sleep on his laurels. He's not bitter about what happened to him. He's just silent. He's just accepting what is happening to him in a tolerant, in an enduring manner. But the boy reminds him, remember how you went 87 days without a fish, and then we caught big ones every day for 3 weeks. In other words, Manolo is reminding Santiago that there are ups and downs in life. There are ups and downs in life. Manolo is supporting, is trying to give some self-confidence to Santiago. He has faith in him. So it's not just a matter of luck, it's a matter of skill as well. So long as you have skill, you will have luck. Luck is not just something that comes and which you get. There should be some preparation, there should be some work. I know you did not leave me because you doubted. So there is trust in here. There is faith on both sides, especially on the part of the disciple towards his master. It was Papa who made me leave. I am a boy and I must obey. Manolo has faith in Santiago, but what kind of faith is it? The faith of an individual in another individual, from a person to another person. But in fact, this has a larger thematic connotation. It's the faith in the human being, in faith in humanity, in the capability of man. Manolo has faith in Santiago, has faith that Santiago will overcome his bad luck. So it's a faith in man, faith in the capability of man to achieve victory, to achieve success, to achieve results, even against the odds, against bad luck. It's the theme or the thematic statement of humanism. No, the old man said, but we have, haven't we? He hasn't much faith. So the employer, the current employer of Manolo, doesn't have much faith. He's criticized by the young boy. But Santiago says, no, we have faith, haven't we? Yes, the boy said, etc. So as I said earlier on, they are like pals. There is no generation gap between the two. They go to have a drink together, and they are like pals, like equals. There is mutual respect, mutual faith between them, man to man, actually. They defy time. There is only manhood in question here. Only manhood, which is in the forefront. It's a young man and an old man. Time is irrelevant in this relationship, in this partnership. They are equals. Why not, the old man says, between fishermen? Well, let's go and have a drink between fishermen. Yes, so it's mutual. Santiago has faith in the young boy as well, because he knows with whom he is dealing. Can I offer you a beer on the terrace, and then I'll take this stuff home? Why not, the old man said, between fishermen. They go to have a drink, as we said, and this beer is a kind of yeah, they're going to have a drink together. They sat on the terrace, and many of the fishermen made fun of the old man, and he was not angry. Others of the older fishermen looked at him and were sad. So, concerning the story of Santiago, we could say that man is not only pitted against the indifferent nature or the hostile nature. He's not just struggling against nature. He should struggle or take into consideration also the scorn of other men in the cafe, the scorn of society. So we don't fight just nature; we fight society as well. So more than one rival, as I said earlier on. And he was not angry because he's a good sportsman. All right, he's defeated now. He's not bitter. He will not respond angrily. He will respond through results, not through insults. Others of the older fishermen looked at him and were sad. Well, he gets more sympathy from the older fishermen than from the younger fishermen, because the older fishermen understand what it means to be towards the end of your career. It is sad, and it arouses compassion. But when you are young, you don't feel compassion, and you don't understand what is happening to others. So man is not only pitted against the indifferent nature, not against destiny alone, but also against merciless society. Society is merciless. Society is judgmental. Society does not take individual circumstances into consideration. Society that often underestimates and crushes the individual. Yeah, there is the idea of individual and society here. And Manolo is a lone wolf. Not Manolo, I'm talking about Santiago. Santiago is a lone wolf. He is fighting his own crusade alone, and society is definitely not on his side. This sympathy and this compassion on the part of some older fishermen on the terrace does not provide any comfort to Santiago. On the contrary, it makes him feel sadder, and it makes him feel more pain. He doesn't say it, but we feel it. It is understood, it is implicit. Even the pity of the others is more painful to Santiago. He is used to victories, not to defeat. He's used to good luck based on hard work, not to bad luck and bad results. The issue here is about success and failure. Yes, this is what Ernest Hemingway is trying to raise. He's trying to raise the issue of success and failure. How can we measure success and failure? How can we maintain? How can we sustain success and not to fall into failure? Or how can we raise from failure into success? These are the lessons that Hemingway is ready to teach us. or to impart with us. The issue here is about success and failure, and the questions raised is that should we give in or give up, be resigned in the face of failure? The answer, of course, is no, according to Hemingway. The successful fishermen of that day were already in and had butchered their marling out and carried them laid full length across the two planks, with two men staggering at the end of each plank to the fish house, where they waited for the ice truck to carry them to the market in Havana. Those who had caught sharks had taken them to the shark factory on the other side of the cove, where they were hoisted on a block and tackle, their livers removed, their fins cut off, and their hides skinned out, and their flesh cut into strips for salting. And this is a realistic description of the activities of the fishermen and what they did and how they did it. Ernest Hemingway lived for a number of years in Havana, and he took part in this activity of fishing. These are the eternal gestures of man looking for a livelihood, either in agriculture in the fields or at sea as fishermen. It's a realistic description which provides us with a vivid description with the details of reality through geographical and temporal reference to Havana in the mid-20th century. There is also the theme of the value of work. There is no place, there is no room for laziness in this novel. It's all about work and hard work. It's about toiling, and work is shown as a value here, as synonymous to human success and to human nobility and human victory and heroism, actually. In the following passage, we have a description of the environment. When the wind was in the east, a smell came across the harbour from the shark factory, but today there was only the faint edge of the odour, because the wind had backed into the north and then dropped off, and it was pleasant and sunny on the terrace. Who is speaking here? It's the narrator. But it is not an omniscient narrator. He is just an observer who observes what is going on like a neutral camera. He does not comment on or interpret the events or action. Yes, there is no evaluation and no comment. He's a very reserved narrator. He's a very objective narrator, and yes, he's very reserved. When the wind was in the east, a smell came across the harbour. Somebody who looks at the fishermen doing their work, one of them. So this is the narrative perspective or the narrative point of view. And he's a neutral observer, like a neutral camera. But he refrains The narrator refrains from comment or interpretation or discussion or judgment. He suspends judgment. He does not endeavor to make an introspection of the characters from within. Yes, well, I think this is specific to Hemingway. He doesn't want to make any introspective exploration of the characters. He's just telling us what the characters say and what they do, and he leaves it to us to interpret or to infer the feelings of the characters. He doesn't mention the feelings at all of the characters. He allows us to see them only through an outside description and reporting of what the characters say. So it's just an external description that creates the atmosphere and lets the reader interpret things for himself or herself. Santiago, the boy said. Yes, the old man said. He was holding his glass and thinking of many years ago. Santiago has the propensity of thinking about the past, or he's obliged to think about the past because his present is so bleak. He cannot afford not to think about the past. We wonder, is he past bound? Notice that the narrator abstains from commenting about this issue, about this point. He's doing no introspection. He just observes the outside, as we have just said, the outside appearance, and draws some conclusions that could be relevant for the reader. There is dialogue between Santiago and Manolo, but it is very economically devised. It's not very detailed, but it is carefully chosen. So the use of dialogue is very important here. In fiction in general, it helps consolidate the realistic effect. It is in the speech of the characters themselves, between fishermen. It is done according to the principle of showing, not telling. Yes, this is an important principle in fiction. You need to show, not to tell. When you use dialogue, successfully, the reader is involved. The reader becomes an observer too. He doesn't need a filter. He doesn't need anybody to filter information or description to him or her. Dialogue is used in an economic and an efficient way. Can I go out to get sardines for you tomorrow? Said Manolo. No, go and play baseball. I can still row, and Rogerio will throw the net. You are already a man, said Santiago. Yes, Santiago has a lot of respect for Manolo, just as Manolo has a lot of admiration for Santiago. He says, "You are a man already. How old was I when you first took me in the boat?" He was very young. He was at the age of 5, which means that he brought him up. He's like his son. He has educated him. He has brought him up. He has taught him everything. Perhaps he has taught him more than his biological parents did. So it is a long relationship of master and disciple. Santiago is the spiritual father of the boy. Yes, he is. He is his spiritual father. There is his father who is taking care of him, of course, who brought him, and his mother who brought him into this existence. But Santiago is his spiritual father. And maybe the role of the spiritual father is much more than the role of his actual father. Santiago and Manolo have a number of common things together. I can remember the tail slapping and banging and the thwart breaking and the noise of the clubbing. I can remember you throwing me into the bow where the wet coiled lines were and feeling the whole boat shiver, and the noise of you clubbing him like chopping a tree down, and the sweet blood smell all over me. So they have got common memories of past victories and of past successes. They have something in common. They have shared experience. Manolo says, "I remember everything from when we first met together." So for him, Santiago is his role model. The role model is something specific to Ernest Hemingway, as many critics have pointed out. The role model for Ernest Hemingway is a character who does certain good things that other the readers or other characters should imitate or should look up to. So I remember everything from when we first went together. So Manolo is a good disciple. Manolo offers to help, offers to bring sardines to Santiago. Manolo wants Santiago to become successful again. He would do everything to help. He would even still steal some sardines to help him use as bait for a future victory. So he says, "I'll bring you 4 fresh ones," and Santiago says, "Bring me just one," just to please him. So Santiago is dignified. He does not want to be dependent on others. He feels humiliated. He feels very bad, actually. Somebody is offering him a service, and he doesn't want to be served. He doesn't want to be grateful to others or to be dependent on others. He has always been self-dependent. He doesn't want to feel secondary or dependent on others. He doesn't want the kid to pay for him. He doesn't want to look as a sponge or as a parasite or as somebody who who lives at the expense of others. Thank you, the old man said. It was too simple to wonder when he had attained humility, but he knew he had attained it, and he knew it was not disgraceful, and it carried no loss of true pride. He's a proud man, he's a dignified man. So he accepts help. He's not arrogant. For Hemingway, a true hero is not someone arrogant. Humility is a characteristic of real heroes, according to Hemingway. Manolo's employer is not a risk taker. I'll try to get him to work far out, the boy said. Then if you hook something truly big, we can come to your aid. Oh my God. You can see here the length to which Manolo can go to help Santiago. He's suggesting that he would try to persuade his employer in the other ship, in the other boat, to go very far, so that if Santiago got a big fish, they would come to the rescue, they would come to help him. I'll try to get him do this. But he doesn't like to work too far out, says Santiago, meaning that the new employer is not a risk taker, unlike Santiago. And life needs risk takers. Life is full of challenges, and one should take challenges and take risks as well. But you are strong enough now for a truly big fish. I think so, and there are many tricks. Yes, Santiago is self-confident. Santiago is, unlike Manolo's current employer, he's got enough strength to get a big fish, but also he's got many tricks. That is, he's got expertise, he's got skill that doesn't go with time. On the contrary, it's an asset. He has more than one asset. He may be old, but he has got a lot of expertise and know-how, probably better than any others. And he will prove it. He will prove it, and he will succeed in his test. So he is armed with hope. Santiago is also full of hope. He's got optimism. He's got optimism on his side. Santiago is an optimist. And again, this is one of the features underlined, underscored by Hemingway. They picked up the gear from the boat. The old man carried the mast on his shoulder. As you can see, to carry the mast is usually a very heavy thing. So he's still strong. He's an old man, but still strong. Santiago is an old man, but still strong. The boy carried the wooden boat with the coiled hard boat, no, box, I think, not boat, brown lines, the gaff and the harpoon with its shaft. The box with the baits was under the stern of the skiff, along with the club that was used to subdue the big fish. Now, this is the equipment used by the fishermen, used by Santiago. This is the gear for a living. And every job has its gear. Every job has its tools. And I did write a poem about this, about my pencils and papers and books and computer. This is my gear. This is my equipment for a living. And this is Santiago's equipment for his living. Every profession has its gear, its equipment. This is the determinism of human life. So they take up their equipment to the shack, to the hut where Manolo lives, so that it is not stolen by other fishermen. No one would steal from the old man, but it was better to take the sail and the heavy lines home, as the dew was bad for them. Santiago is a professional fisherman. He's doing everything according to the rules. He is very cautious. He doesn't want to let his equipment and his gear in the boat, lest somebody would steal it. So he's not the type of person to have things stolen from. He's a cautious man. These are the features, these are the characteristics of Hemingway's role hero. We have here a little description of the hut where Santiago lives, again by the same narrator, same, how do you call it? Narrator who is not omniscient. A narrator who is objective, is neutral, right, who doesn't know everything. On the brown walls of the flattened, overlapping leaves of the sturdy fibered guano, there was a picture in color of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and another of the Virgin of Cobre. These were relics of his wife. Once there had been a tinted photograph of his wife on the wall, but he had taken it down because it made him too lonely to see it, and it was on the shelf in the corner under his clean shirt. Wow. This is a description, as I said, of the room. First of all, this picture in color of the Sacred Heart of Jesus indicates that this man is religious in the Orthodox Catholic manner, but he is also and mainly a believer in man. Yes, religion is there, but humanism is there also and mainly. Man is deserves Santiago's and our faith as well, just as the other religion does. This is one of the messages of Ernest Hemingway. These are relics of his wife, who was more religious than himself, maybe, but of course he keeps these relics because he's faithful to his wife. He is faithful to her memory. He loved his wife. So these are again other features of the main character, hero of Ernest Hemingway. Faithfulness, loyalty, etc. Once there had been a tinted photograph of his wife on the wall, but he had taken it down because it made him too lonely to see it, too lonely and too sad. So see, the narrator deliberately refuses to delve into the soul of the main character to tell us what he feels or how he felt about his deceased wife. He is a widower. But he's not the type of man to commit suicide because his wife died. He's not a man to be depressed because his wife died. He is a man to abide by the rule that life goes on. For him, life goes on. Yes, he loved her. Yes, he cherished her. Yeah, he still loves her. He will always love her. But it makes him feel sad to see her picture. So he hid her picture so as not to remember too often his loss. He will, or he does, certainly carry her picture, her image in his heart, more on the wall of his hut. He carries her picture in his heart more than it does on the wall of his heart, of his hut. Sorry. He is a widower, and he clearly loves his wife, or loved her and still loves her, but we are not directly told that, we just infer it. What do you have to eat? The boy asked. A pot of yellow rice with fish. Do you want some? No, I will eat at home, etc. Yes, he leads a frugal kind of life. And food is not a luxury. We eat to live. We do not eat. We do not live to eat. We do not live to eat. This is the philosophy. Food is just to sustain life. It is not a luxury and is not meant to be, according to Hemingway. There was no cast net, and the boy remembered when they had sold it, but they went through this fiction every day. There was no pot of yellow rice and fish, and the boy knew this too. Well, this is very sad. This clearly shows that Santiago is really bankrupt. He has no money, no food, nothing. And I think Hemingway deliberately does this. He wants to show us that his hero is facing the odds barehanded. Now, is there greater heroism than this? To face the odds, to face everything barehanded? I think this is great. 85 is the lucky number, the old man said. How would you like to see me bring one in that dressed out over 1,000 pounds? Santiago has lost everything except hope, except a dream of success. That's admirable about him. 85 is a lucky number. So it's a question of gambling. And after all, probably Hemingway is trying to tell us life is a gamble. It is in many respects. So much so that Santiago is lying to himself, lying to the boy and maybe to himself. This indicates the extent of that his humiliation can go to. And anyway, they move on to talk about football, about baseball, sorry. They want to talk about baseball. So they seem to enjoy talking about baseball a lot. They are fishermen, yes, but they have one thing for entertainment is talking, is being interested, being passionate about baseball in the United States, of course, the neighboring country of the United States. So they have something in common. They share an interest in baseball, another masculine interest for men. And yes, everything is masculine in this book. Hemingway chose to explore these issues, and he is perfectly entitled to. We should not refuse a writer the right to choose his subject. We just talked about Jane Austen a while ago. She is free to talk about her marriage issues all the time in all her novels, and so is Ernest Hemingway to talk about masculine interests. Do you think we should buy a terminal of the lottery with an 85? So they're thinking of gambling, of playing the lottery. And they don't have, of course, they don't have the money. Certainly, Santiago doesn't have any. And he says, I think perhaps I can too, but I try not to borrow. He tries not to borrow money. This is an interesting feature about Santiago. He doesn't like borrowing money because he's self-reliant. He doesn't want to depend on others. He wants to pay his own way. That is, not to rely on other people's help. The month, remember we are in September, and Santiago says, the month when the great fish come. The old man said, anyone can be a fisherman in May. So Santiago is ambitious. He's not. His dreams are big. So the current employer of Manolo is does not go deep into the sea or far out into the sea, whereas Santiago, does go far out into the sea and hoping to catch a very big fish. That's one. Second, uh, Santiago hopes to catch a fish at the height of the season, because he wants to catch the biggest catch actually. So he's dreaming of achieving an exploit. He's ambitious. One of his features again is ambition. And he clings to hope even in the midst of defeat, in the midst of bad luck. So I think The Old Man and the Sea as a whole is a lesson of optimism. This novel is a lesson of optimism. So the boy leaves him to go and do some errands. And when he came back, he found him asleep on his chair, I think. When the boy came back, the old man was asleep in the chair and the sun was down. The boy took the old army blanket off the bed and spread it over the back of the chair and over the old man's shoulders. They were strange shoulders, still powerful, although very old, and the neck was still strong too, and the creases did not show so much when the old man was asleep, and his head fallen forward. His shirt had been patched so many times that it was like the sail, and the patches were faded to many different shades by the sun. So the old man is lonely. He has no family, no wife, nobody to take care of him, except this boy who is willing to help him. So we live lonely lives most of the time, even in the midst of our relatives. But solidarity may come from unexpected corners, from an unexpected corner. Yes, just as in this case, Santiago could live independently, no problem, but this help, this solidarity from Manolo is most welcome. And a hero is not a hero alone. He is usually helped by somebody, and there is no harm in that. Manolo is observing the sleeping Santiago and looks at his shoulders, and we see that the human body can defy time and age. The human body can defy time and age. There is something enduring, like an oak tree, in the human body. It's physical, but also psychological. Resilience is both physical and psychological, and Santiago has got both of them. And Hemingway has plenty of admiration for this, and he wants us to to do this and to benefit from it. The human body can defy time and age if that is coupled with strong will to survive. So the theme of survival. Other men in the situation of Santiago may have died out of depression or out of bad luck or pessimism, but Santiago is still alive because he's a survivalist, and this developed the theme of survivalism. Yet on the surface, he is the epitome of failure. His shirt had been patched so many times that it was like the sail, and the patches were faded to many different shades by the sun. He is, on the surface, he's a loser. On the surface, he's a failure. But will he surrender to this situation? No. The answer is no. He is going to fight against the odds, and he's going to prevail. Now he's asleep. He's still asleep. But this sleep is not the sleep of defeat, it's the sleep of relaxing, of a fighter relaxing before resuming the fight. Just the body is being relaxed before another bout of hard work, another bout of strife is undertaken. When he was woken up by Manolo, he was coming back from a long way, meaning he was dreaming, or was he had a dream, or he was daydreaming? We don't know exactly. So we wonder, is Santiago a sleeper or a dreamer? So is he in the habit of sleeping too much? Not really. Is he a dreamer? I tend to believe so. He's in the habit of dreaming because heroes are always dreaming of better and greater success. It was actually, he may have not been sleeping but planning for his victory, but he would not share his plans with anyone, including his friend Manolo. I think so. Yes, he is planning to achieve his victory. He wants to take his revenge against fate, actually. He wants to show his own worth to himself and to the world, and he is right, and it's his right to do so. He wants to prove his worth to himself, to Manolo, and to the world, and he is entitled to do so. He refuses to admit being hungry, and he is suffering the shame and humiliation of hunger bravely. I'm not very hungry, he says. Come on and eat. You can't fish and not eat. So it seems the roles here are inverted. Manolo is taking care of him. The child or the boy is taking care of the man, not the man taking care of the boy. The roles are inverted. So, yeah. I was calling him Manolo, I should say Manolin. All right. Keep the blanket about you. The boy nurses Santiago. So I think heroism in the modern sense, according to Hemingway, is different from the classic traditional heroism. It is not one man-made heroism. It's the contribution of many people. So Manolin is a contributor um, to the heroism of Santiago. It's it's teamwork, and here we have a team of two people. It's like a team of football. When victory comes in football, it's not one person; it's the whole team. It doesn't the honor doesn't go to one player alone. The theme of solidarity is also important. So I think Manolin is helping Santiago, and there is somebody else who's said to have offered the meal, but we're not and drinks. But we're not sure. Is it Manolin who bought these things, or is it somebody else as well? In any case, the value of solidarity is very important in this book. I'll give him the belly meat of a big fish. I will pay him back. Santiago, uh, wants to pay his way. He doesn't want to be dependent. He doesn't want to be the one who receives help. He thinks he's good enough to survive. So, about drink and food, these are the little pleasures of life, according to Hemingway. Food and drink, uh, they are part of the little pleasures of life. These are the reflections of the boy, Manolin. I must have water here for him, the boy thought, and soap and and a good towel. Why am I so thoughtless? I must get him another shirt and a jacket for the winter, and some sort of shoes and another blanket. So this is the inner monologue um, of Manolin, thinking um, of his of how he could help his master Santiago later in the future. Santiago is Hemingway's hero, yet he is dependent on the help of a young boy. We're all vulnerable. So this is the special notion of heroism according to Ernest Hemingway. Um, a hero is not a perfect man. He has his defects, he has his vulnerability. He can be vulnerable, yet a hero. Hemingway's hero is essentially human. One of the things that Manolin is offering Santiago here is company. Yeah, imagine an old man without company. That would be terrible. But he is having some company with the young boy. So he's doing his best to alleviate life for him, and he's entertaining him, and they discuss about football and sometimes about Africa. Naturally, but he makes the difference in the other league between Brooklyn and Philadelphia. So, what's the use of talking about football in here and the frequent references to football? I think football, some players make the difference, and the same thing, life, some men make the difference in life. A football match or a baseball match is um, is a is a struggle, and life is a struggle too. In baseball or football, uh, there is the possibility of success and the possibility of failure. These are the stakes. There was nothing like him. When he's talking about Dick Sisler, there was nothing ever like him. He hits the longest ball I have uh, I have ever seen. Do you remember when he had used to come to the terrace? So, talking about these major heroes of baseball at the time, it indicates that some men are more inspirational than others. They inspire their colleagues, their playmates, but also they can inspire others. Some men are more inspirational than others, and they can uh, do other people a lot of service. These baseball players are real life heroes, or between inverted commas, heroes for their fans, like Santiago and Manolin and others. But they are real life heroes. They are not imaginary. They are not mythical. They are not taken from any mythology. They are real, and they used to come to the same terrace where Manolin and Santiago were sitting having a drink a while ago. Um, so this explicits Hemingway's notion of heroism. And also, Santiago and Manolin could have spoken to them and could have invited them to take part in a fishing party or something, but they didn't dare. Uh, it means that we could rub shoulders with heroes, but Santiago and Manolin, both of them, missed an opportunity. Moreover, heroism in baseball, as well as in fishing, as well as in any other field or area or profession, it is achievable. It is within man's reach if there is enough will and hard work, hard work, and hard work. If there is enough will and hard work. When I was your age, I was before the mast of a square-rigged ship that ran to Africa, and I have seen lions on the beaches in the evening. I know you told me. Now, we are wondering. Santiago has a propensity, has a tendency to repeat his story or his experience of journeys to Africa, where he saw lions and beautiful beaches there. But Manolo is not interested in the story that he heard more than once. So is Santiago past bound? We wonder. I mean, is he attached to the past only? Does he just think about the past and not about the present? Is he past bound? Uh, Thinking of his past achievements, and that's all. Is he a prisoner of the past, of his achievements in Africa? Or is this meant to imply that heroism can be achieved in the present, the future, and the future as much as it was in the past? I think this is the message. Santiago is, he's remembering his past, he's remembering who he was, he's remembering his past achievements, but he has not given up about present or future achievements. Manolo almost rudely tells him, Manolin almost rudely tells him, I know you told me. So is Santiago turning amnesic or senile? Is he forgetting? Is he suffering Alzheimer? I don't know. But the point here is that you need not to be perfect to be a hero. You can be an old man and yet a hero. You can be an old man yet achieve high results. You can be who you are and achieve. You can be a woman and achieve good results. You can be a young man and achieve good results. You can be have a handicap and achieve good results. So it's not a question of. You should not admit defeat in front of constraints. This is the message. This is the type of modern hero, an imperfect hero. John J. McGraw is another macho. He was rough, harsh-spoken, and difficult when he was drinking. His mind was on horses as well as by baseball. At least he carried lists of horses all the time in his pocket and frequently spoke the name of horses to the telephone. So, men's concerns, men's issues. By the way, there is no or little place for women in this novel. Hemingway preferred to talk about men, his specialty, but there are heroines in his other works, such as A Farewell to Arms. But again, as I said earlier on, he is free to choose his subject. So Santiago admires McGraw despite his defects. So probably this is a hint to us. We could like people and not expect them to be perfect. We should not expect people to be perfect. Like people for what they are and not for what they should be. Hemingway and Santiago are not judgmental. We should not be judgmental ourselves because nobody is perfect anyway. He was a great manager, meaning a great manager of baseball. Both main characters in this novel are no intellectuals. I mean, this conversation about baseball could sound trivial to somebody, or superficial, or shallow. Um, but notice that both main characters are no intellectuals, and they need not be. Who said they should be? They are ordinary people. They are ordinary people. Santiago is a fisherman. Manolo is a mere boy, an assistant of a fisherman. Yet both can provide lessons, men and women, of all intellectuals and levels. Yeah, lessons for men and